Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the number one podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. I'm your host, Steve from Acres of Timber. Each week, we feature various wood business owners and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We share their stories, paths, insights so that you can network, learn, and grow your own wood business. Thank you so much for listening. Now enjoy the episode. The Woodpreneur podcast is proudly sponsored by Acres CRM. Acres CRM is the wood industry's only customer relationship management software dedicated to helping you automate your sales and marketing so that you can focus on serving your customers and growing your business. You can visit acresoftimber.com to learn more and to schedule a demo. Once again, that's acresoftimber.com. Of the Woodpreneur podcast is your host, Steve. Today's guest is Tom Hamilton from Lumbercycle. How you doing, Tom?
Hey, Steve, I'm doing great. It's down here in sunny, slightly overcast San Diego.
That's awesome. So I just did a Woodpreneur meetup at Tom's location in National City in San Diego. And it was such a great time. Thank you so much for hosting the meetup down there. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Thank you so much for getting that going because we got to meet a lot of new faces and see some other familiar faces that I haven't seen in a long time. So it was a great experience. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So why don't you tell everybody about Lumbercycle? How'd you get started, and what's the mission and purpose of it?
Absolutely. So we do things a little bit differently from I think most sawmills because we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We started back in 2016 down here in San Diego. We have a community college called Palomar College, which has one of the greatest woodworking programs in the nation. And wow. They also have, it's incredible. You can learn to make literally anything you want there. And they have so much community and staff that's ready to help you with any project you want to do. And they also have a sawmill, an urban forestry program where they accept logs and they'll cut and dry the wood and then sell it to their students for super crazy discount. And after I volunteered with them a couple of years, when I was getting out of the program, I wanted to try and continue the mission that they were doing by salvaging logs and finding ways to affect people's lives with it by offering it affordably and accessible and make it accessible for as many people as possible. I wanted to try and do that for the public because for me in San Diego, trying to find urban wood in this area, it's really, really expensive stuff because there's not a lot of people that are doing it. So, I know the goal is to try and save as many trees from going to landfill as possible. But for me, it seemed like, well, it would make more sense to save more trees if we could do more volume. And by doing more volume, you can lower your costs in theory. And if you can make it accessible and affordable for low income and disadvantaged communities, then you can try and make that more systemic, organic movement on the worker man's level to make long-term changes for urban forestry sustainability. And I worked with the Sawyer at Palomar, which is my partner, Brett, and we founded Lumbercycle together back in 2016. And since then, the goal is, how can we make as much of an impact ecologically for our climate action plan in San Diego and also economically for our low income and disadvantaged communities in San Diego, which is why we're located here in National City. And with that, we donate wood to all kinds of community enrichment programs, like community gardens, public art projects, high school wood shops. It's increasing access and getting it into as many hands as possible. And then we also sell it here at the shop for pretty affordably, I'd say.
Yeah, and when I saw your prices, they were very, very affordable. And actually, one of our mastermind students, Amir Navidi, he's the one that introduced, proposed that we host it there. He's got volunteers with you. So talk about the volunteering opportunities and how sweet that deal is of for folks that want to get involved with you.
Yeah, well, I think in order to understand how urban forestry can be successful, I think it's really important for people in the community to see what the process is like to get from a tree to lumber. And so we survive a lot on our small staff, but more importantly on the community at large that comes and volunteers for us. And it does a couple of things. For one, it's an educational opportunity for anybody that wants to join. So they come to the yard, they help us with when we're sawing, they assist the sawmill operators, we stack wood for drying, we learn about the whole process for anybody that comes and joins us. It helps us reduce our costs because obviously, we're getting a lot of extra help with the labor. And then alternatively, we can offer that wood in exchange for that educational opportunity. So when people come to volunteer, they get to learn about the whole process and then take some wood home with them. And that can have double impact for people in disadvantaged communities because it gives them access to wood that they might not be able to afford otherwise, and also allows them to learn about the process. And Amir is awesome, especially because he lives really close to our sawmill, which is a little higher up in the mountains. So it's a little easier for him to get to us. But yeah, it's all about building that inspiration, building that connection between people and the trees around them. And education is number one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what, I know that you were really inspired by your time at the college in order to start this, but like, how have you kind of kept this going? Like, how did you get funded? And I know California is very, very unique in that, they have a CAL FIRE, which is like a state department, right? Like California Department of Fire, right? Is that what it stands for? Talk about that process of being able, because like, there's so many different ways that you can like be part of the wood, like a woodpreneur. And I would say that you are a social woodpreneur, right? And you're probably the first person that I ever met like that. But, for most folks that know that I ran a nonprofit for many years. So you're my people, And so like, how did you get funded and how did you kind of keep things going?
Okay. That's a great question. And it's key to anybody who wants to survive in the very beginning. I think even when starting a for-profit business, I think the idea is that you cannot expect to make a profit for 2 years or something like that. And it felt that way for us too. In the beginning, it was just 2 guys and whoever we could get to volunteer from the college. And, we had a lot of help. I feel like we got some privileges with people that were inspired by what we were trying to do that offered, their space for us to bring a sawmill and do the milling. We were air drying everything at first. And in the beginning, it was just a matter of putting in the hours, producing a product, and then trying to find people who could purchase it. And, we did little things here and there, like building benches to try and do fundraising. And we did custom milling for some folks, which certainly helped. But we didn't shoot into the stratosphere until we got this CAL FIRE grant. And that was really one of the big keys for becoming a nonprofit to begin with, is that there is a lot of opportunities to get support from your community, from businesses, and most importantly, from municipalities and state agencies to get funding for these kinds of projects. So back in 2017, we started in 2016. 2017, I wrote my first grant for CAL FIRE, which was to do the National City Biomass Utilization, which in our first year was not successful. I was able to keep in touch with the U.S. foresters and the CAL FIRE reps to learn about like what I needed to do to improve it. And they said, don't worry. I was devastated when I didn't get it the first time because it's an annual grant. And I remember they said, don't worry, you're going to look back on this time and these hardships and it'll make you chuckle because you're definitely going to make it. You just need to do these little things. And sure enough, by the next year, we wrote a successful grant for $776,000 that funded us for the last 4 years.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's amazing. If you have the right idea, if you can get the community support, you can do these colossal endeavors. And we had partnerships with the Boy Scouts of America, and we had the San Diego Fine Woodworkers and Woodturners Guild, and some of the high schools and all of these other community nonprofits that were looking for help in that way. And I think any successful business is just finding those connections, finding the problem, and then seeking a solution. That was what we aimed for. And now that grant is officially over. And so we're aiming to apply for that next grant again next spring.
Awesome. And so you do community programs, do you do custom milling?
We do, yeah. Sort of on a smaller scale, but yeah, we've done on-site milling before for folks with our mobile wood miser. Anybody that can bring logs to us, that's like the best situation because then we can just blast through it really quickly. But yeah, we do it on occasion. We've resawn beams before and cut logs. And we've even experimented with drying wood for people too, which is difficult. It's a tricky thing that not a lot of people do because there's so many, risk factors involved. It's hard to get consistency in product when drying, especially with these species that we have in Southern California. So there's no kiln schedules written for eucalyptus and a lot of these other species that we have.
Torrey pine, right?
Yeah, that's the rarest tree in North America. And what do you know? Nobody else has cut and dried it before large scale.
You said San Diego had 200 different species?
250 species plus of trees, which,
Wow.
Growing up here, I didn't realize that was a big deal. And, trying to talk with other kiln operators, that is a really big deal. You can grow virtually anything in here. Coincidentally, though, you don't see a lot of maple and walnut and cherry. So it is a very unique situation in here where we can grow these exotic trees, but none of the trees that you expect to find in a regular hardwood store. And it's kind of a blessing and a curse.
And you have like a lumber, you have basically a lumber shop, like a showroom where you sell slabs and anybody can come by and purchase it, right?
Yeah, that's right. We have our open house on Saturdays, and then we're open by appointment during the week. It's fun when people come in. They look through the slabs. We usually have a bunch of different woodworking volunteers that join me on Saturdays, and everybody can talk about their projects and get advice on things. And it's a whole community event, which is a lot of fun every week. And then people can look through the wood. We're hoping very soon to have our slabs in an online inventory and hopefully be able to reach more people that way. But as for now, people come in on Saturdays and we have fun.
That's awesome. So this is a part where I give you any marketing or business advice. And so I'd love to help you think through or give any advice on anything that you need to help, push Lumbercycle forward.
Yes. Okay. Well, what a coincidence. We're working on something right now and I can use some advice. So here in San Diego, we are like one of the hubs for breweries. There's all kinds of restaurants in the downtown area and now expanding into North Park and all these different neighborhoods. Lots of really classy stuff. And a lot of them are interested in sustainable materials when making things in their restaurants or in their businesses. And we're hoping that the future of being able to market this stuff is going to be reaching out to restaurants, businesses, and
developers, the people that are making it.
Exactly. Yeah. And we need to find a way that we can put what the idea is of Lumbercycle and urban wood into a small enough package that I can start distributing it. Because you're right, I'm a bit of a social woodpreneur. Talking to people and expressing my passion for wood is one of my main selling points. So we're gonna make like a lookbook. Or maybe like a pamphlet or a brochure or something, and then bring in some wood samples of things. I mean, unfortunately, the only thing I have on my desk right now is palm wood that kind of exploded. But bringing this and a pamphlet and a card and going to places and saying, if you're going to be working on your restaurant or your space, you should consider using urban wood, and then having a list of affordable species and things like that they could use. And I'm sort of going into it blind. I want to make this brochure and then just start hitting the streets, out there and start talking to managers. But I don't know what the best strategy is for trying to reach as many people, because we've had success with smaller restaurants. People have reached out to us from our Facebook marketplace ads and things like that. But I just feel like if I could get in front of the rest of the people that aren't in that scene, maybe they would consider it.
So, you know what I like? I like the idea of, so if you had smaller restaurants, right? How many smaller restaurants do you think you work with?
Like currently we probably have wood in maybe a dozen.
Okay, that's perfect. I thought you were going to tell me one or two, but a dozen is amazing. And so like, I would invite them or go and take pictures of the wood in their location, get a testimonial. And I would maybe take your best samples and throw an event at Lumbercycle, right? Maybe bring your mobile mill down to your place in National City, and I would have a cocktail party similar to what we did with our Woodpreneur meetup. Because then you invite all of those people to come, and then you do a panel discussion with the 3 or 4 of the restaurants that have used urban wood, and just say, and then you just do a panel discussion on like the top concerns of in restaurant design, right? So maybe you have like a conversation around restaurant design, and then you invite how to decrease costs in the age of inflation while designing your restaurant. I just made that up, right? But like, you know what I mean? But like, because then so there's a recession coming up, right? There's going to be a recession, and people are going to be looking for ways to save money. What's the best way to save money and be sustainable is to use urban wood. So you invite all those people together, and you become the center of it. You get some of that leftover beer. You get some wine from, I don't know if they have Smart and Final, Kroger, or whatever down there, right? You get some appetizers, and you have some seats or some mingling, some bar types, and you have literally a conversation. You record the whole thing. And for the people that couldn't come, they get the repeat of the panel discussion. The follow-up is that they can talk to you to do a consultation. Make sure that you have a designer or somebody that's part of your team that can speak in their language, so that, and then the next thing you know, that they're placing orders with you. That's the call to action, is that they're placing orders with you for their projects.
I love that.
That's a project that you should do. Plan now for like September.
Wow. And then that would be like, would that be supplemental to me going out? Like, am I wasting my time with the pamphlet? Do I go out there and say, hey,
I think you need the pamphlet anyway, but the pamphlet, but like you knock everybody out at once, right? If you can't come to the event, you get the pamphlet, and then I follow up with the phone call, and you get an email, and then you get a charcuterie board, and then you get a skateboard, and then you get a pamphlet, and then you get an email, and then you get a phone number. So they call it the Dream 100 method. And you basically just need to come up with your top 100 developers, designers, architects, whoever, right? Like in Southern California, and your job is to make them know about you. The first thing is that you want to do is to get them to come to your place. Like, come see what it's like. Like, listen, if everybody knew that you existed, you'd have a space 3 or 4 times the size. People want to do well, and they want to save money and do good for the environment. Like, people want that. You just need to present it in a way that's packaged for them. You know what I mean?
I see.
Listen, there's lots of places, lots of nonprofit, multi decabillion nonprofits out there. You know what I mean? Like, nonprofits don't need to be, skimping away at $150,000, $200,000 a year. Like, you can run a $30 million if you wanted to, and make a huge impact. And but it all depends on if you speak to the right person, you present them the right package. I would, now that the world is opening up a bit, I would literally start thinking, like, how can I do more events? Like what we just did. If you speak to one person, you speak to all the architects, you speak to all the developers, you speak directly to them and say, this is your problem. This is my solution to your problem. You are looking for affordable wood, sustainable wood. Oh, and by the way, I have it. You know what I mean? I have it.
Yeah, exactly.
For years we have had it. So,
wow.
Is that helpful?
That is extremely helpful. I can't wait to start thinking about that. Yeah, because we had a ton of fun that night, and I already have people I could talk to that would definitely come, and then try and get some new faces in too. So would you go to places and invite them, or do you go the more social media way to try and find these folks?
Find them on social media, and then invite them to just pick a date and invite them, and then just start marketing them. Like, give them 6 to 8 weeks in advance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's
Got
what
that
I
on
would
my
do.
to-do list.
Yeah, man. So yeah, so all right. So tell everybody, how can they follow you? Like, what's your website, social media?
Yeah, follow us everywhere at Lumbercycle on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. One of my fun things is I like to make really silly videos
Awesome.
about what we do, which is a lot of fun. Gets people's attention. We got one viral video. I got super stoked on that, which was cutting exactly this palm, which still trying to find creative solutions for that. But yeah, it's
Awesome.
that. Follow us on social media. We've got a newsletter too. You can find us on our website, lumbercycle.org. And yeah, anybody who's got questions, even if you're on the other side of the world, feel free to reach out. I love talking to people about urban forestry and ways that, you could make a difference in your community with urban wood.
Awesome. Well, Tom, thank you so much. I'm so excited that we get to tell your story, a different story in the Woodpreneur community.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Thanks so much for listening to the Woodpreneur Podcast, the #1 podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood, flooring, and sawmill industry. If you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating and review. You can also tap into our community by visiting woodpreneurlife.com. Once again, that's woodpreneurlife.com.